I was about to say, I prefer deadness and silence.
The deadness of space. That's plenty of sci-fi games. The deadness of space.
That's literally a sci-fi
also,
game.
you sound good.
I sound okay now? Maybe?
Yep.
Okay.
I mean,
I just
sound good.
I just hadn't checked whether or not I was going to, So.
I know, I just unmuted it while I was talking. Anyway, before he went, he said, let's go live and speak. I do need to do that thing for live and speaking. And I'm like,
so, it's fine. I accept bad jokes. Look, I've remained friends with Joe, and I'm sure both of you now,
he
especially...
can make some bad ones. Yeah, you're right.
Dude, you're friends with Joe and me.
At least I think it's like, you've got a very dry tone, which helps with the delivery of it. And I think that just, it's, Joe just puts a lot of more emotion into it, which I don't think it helps as much with the bad jokes.
I do admit, your ability to do it in like a dry tone really does help. I'm more like Joe when I do puns.
I try to make
it
a
bad.
bad
I've had years to practice.
I try to make bad puns.
I was born with this voice.
It has its uses.
The inability to have inflection.
Anyway, so we're gonna talk about some stuff today, and then we'll have a topic and weekend stuff, and it's the usual thing in this show, And I will say to people now, because I have no idea what the schedule for next week is going to be. It depends on how I figure out my schedule for discussing tabletop and Saturday, Sunday. And I'll keep people informed, and we'll figure it out. If we have a show that week, if we don't, I don't know. I'll figure it out. But we should start, because there's a bunch of topics, and some of them are more interesting than others, but, I wasn't going to talk about it, but then I saw, there was other things to talk about around this, so I decided to also we'll talk about the Secret Lair Super Drop for 2023 and Secretversary. It's some Jurassic Park stuff, the previously discussed Tomb Raider stuff, and then, just shit. I'm sorry. I feel like we get, a few interesting things here and there sometimes with Secret Lairs now, but I feel like they're doing so many of them, they're not giving enough time for, really decent ideas. Okay, the Jurassic Park things, they're respect cards,
Mm-hmm.
The thing that, I do kind of get what you're saying. I think it's just, I think they keep more people in... the problem is they have so many fanatical people who have yet to, be burned. Somehow. But I feel like they're doing a very good job at working to burn all of them.
Their whale collection, or whoever the Magic the Gathering whales, have not been burned yet. Or it's taking a lot longer than your average player.
And so, but realistically, I'm just the problem is that a lot of average players are getting burned. Yeah, you actually can... See, the problem is that the whale strategy works too well nowadays.
Yeah. And I think the other thing about a lot of these is if they do at least... The thing is, if they do the minimum amount to have cards printed as part of it that actually have just enough value to meet, at very least, the value of the Secret Lair, it becomes hard to argue against it as, weird or non-existent ideas. They're just put that one expensive card and a couple others around it and think of a theme.
I would say there is something to these Tomb Raider Secret Lair.
Yeah.
Something I don't think they've done before. The Lara Croft card is a completely unique card.
I think that is true. That's the only one that's unique. It's interesting.
Not bad. Not bad card. And I think this is definitely a better way to do it, to have maybe one unique card amongst some reprints.
Yeah, for the I think I agree with you that that's much better for Universes Beyond. Like, you give one card that's unique, because that makes it a lot easier for down the line if they want to, because they do say they want to kind of put non-Universes Beyond versions of these cards in places, which they have done for some. So only having like one actually unique makes that easier.
I'm gonna check the Jurassic Park one as well.
Honestly,
Dr.
the Dr.
the
Ian
Dr.
Malcolm, I'm gonna be honest, I don't like the art very much.
Yeah, the Jurassic Park ones there are not any unique ones, and of course they use this. Of course, for little Ian, they use the sexy pose for the fancy card.
They have 3 versions of Ian, basically, and I'm just like,
Dr. Malcolm, he's like a popular dude. He's the only one who keeps coming back for these movies.
I mean,
yeah. Although I do love the Life Breaks Free ones. Those ones are cool.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because they like changed the way they did the text too. That's really that's kind of unique.
Yeah, definitely. So, I think I like, as much as they are just reprints, I do like the Life Breaks Free. It's not necessarily my favorite art style, but I think it is a neat thing to do.
Very 90s comic book.
Yeah!
I think that's
90s.
why I appreciate it.
Oh god, that's right! That's where I'm thinking of it.
I mean, because for those who don't remember, Jurassic Park is from the 90s, which is a long time ago.
And they did have a comic book.
They did.
I had like a couple of volumes of it, or issues of it. Not that many. But I checked it out and I got like a packet of like random, because you could used to be able to get like a bunch of like comics that were relatively new together in like a packet. That's what I would do occasionally for comic books. I wouldn't follow. I'd occasionally get a couple of those packets. So
only complaint I would say about the style of the Jurassic Park dinosaur cards is, and this is such a minor complaint, the power and toughness is not uniform across all of them. That does. Same with the mana costs.
Yeah.
So for quick reference, that can be kind of annoying.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I almost want to buy these. Cool.
But I mean, they look nice. They look nice.
And
like I don't play Magic, so I'm like, these ones actually look pretty cool.
I was like, a collector, these would be, or proxies would be great.
Yeah. The question of usually, like, you know, I don't have the breakdown. There will be people that will have the breakdown financially, so, you know, I'll say that, you know, probably at least, like, there's a couple of people that'll probably have it.
I know the Evil Dead one they did was that, like, it was really not worth it, because there was nothing really very valuable of reprint in that set.
Yeah. So,
I have to go through and, like, go to the card listings for all this.
I'd say, like, just wait for, like Tulare College does a lot of breakdowns.
Yeah.
There's a couple other groups that I know do breakdowns, usually in pricing, in generally speaking.
One card. All right, yeah. So the Tomb Raider one is worth it because Heart of the Explorer is $40.
Ah, okay. I did not. It's probably. I think that's from the original Ixalan.
That is, it is super old.
And it was. It's the problem. It's from a set, and it was popular in that set, so it has value. I know.
The gift wrap one looks atrocious in my opinion.
Yeah, the gift wrap one looks atrocious. I don't know how these are supposed to represent the various cards in the gift wrap.
Who knows, man?
Color?
Maybe.
I think that's it. Like literally the color.
Yeah.
They're just the color of the element.
And the thing about the Microsynth Wave, I'm going to tell you now. I know all 4 of these, or all 3 of these cards. Microsynth Wellspring is not a valuable card. I have it in my old the second Mirrodin set. Was that, what was it? Scars of Mirrodin? I don't remember. The second Mirrodin block, I used that in my sets from it. But I also know Microsynth Lattice and Microsynth Golem are actually relatively really good cards. I don't know if they have the price. I think the Golem is the more expensive one, because I remember I purchased one for my artifact deck, and it's costly. So it might have actually gone up now, because this was like a decade ago I bought it. And the Lattice, I think it's had some reprints, so I don't know if it's as valuable either.
Yeah, just doing a quick through the Tomb Raider one, you will get your value out of it because there are like 3 pretty expensive cards in this.
Yeah.
I feel like Tomb Raider. I mean, right? Like you like Lara Croft. I'm not a Tomb Raider fan though, personally.
Yeah. The Paradise Frost ones are pretty cool. I like
So yeah,
but that also is like the worst value because they're literally like it's the whole thing just for lands.
Yeah, the land values are never worth it, unfortunately, because they only give you 1 of each. Like, I think that's I'm in agreement that there's been like more of a consensus that they should give you more lands with these. They have no reason not to. It's fucking cardboard, and they're just lands.
Hey, cardboard's expensive.
Mm-hmm. But Microsoft Golem is about $30 now. I think so I think I got it priced closer to 20. So that one would be technically worth it if you want. Honestly, if you want all 3 of them, it's like this is the core for like a really good artifact deck. I'm not gonna lie. The Microsoft.
Yeah.
I'm
not a big fan of the art style though. So.
Yeah.
I mean, if I bought Magic card, I'd just buy them. Cool.
Yeah.
I literally have no one to play with, so who cares?
And then Time Stoppers through the wormhole. They're just kind of. They're just, yeah.
I mean, the other, yeah, like, I pointed out the ones that I liked. The other ones are just, okay.
I don't know what...
Yeah, the Time Stopper ones has that issue of the Jurassic Park where it's like nothing's consistent.
Yeah, it's not easy to read at a glance.
Yeah.
And I think it's even worse than the other ones because I think they're a lot more different.
There's a lot going on with the art for the Tales of Time Stoppers that kind of makes everything feel messy. And I think that's not necessarily a good thing. And then I don't understand other than like, where are we getting this through the wormhole theme with these cards? Whatever. I feel like sometimes they're just like, just make some cool art. It'll be a theme.
They are vaguely all galaxy related, to be fair.
Yeah. So, on another statement, there was something that I will link here for our next kind of component of this, is a statement on Wayfarer's Bauble. Because apparently I can link to their Wizard statement, and then I can link to the Dicebreakers article that I saw about this. Because I'd seen this statement, and I was a little... I didn't get the full story until I actually found it somewhere else, because they just said, oh, hey, something happened. And apparently... in a reprint of a card, a artist basically allegedly stole artwork.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
Wow.
So they've dropped that person from it, and yeah. I guess there is some overlapping in the images, and it's enough.
It's the staircase. The staircase going up in the corner, yeah.
Yeah, I just flipped it and then put some in front of it.
Yep.
What the hell? Why? Are you that lazy to where you can't draw your own background?
So, I mean, it's... it's just so stupid.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you.
I'm glad Wizards took action on this at least.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is like one of those things that it's a very easy, like, oh hey, I think again it's something that I feel like I should mention now. As much as yes, Wizards has been acting on it, there has been a lot of what's the word I'm looking?
A little bit more oversight in their art department.
They have no oversight, it feels like. No, like...
If you look at how many cards are produced in the set, it is not easy to police all of that.
Yeah, you just need one lazy employee, and it's...
Especially because, like, how many art for cards there are, than the alternative art.
You just made the best statement that makes a sense why we're seeing so much problems with them having, like, quality control, this kind of thing. it's because they've been putting out so many extra products, they don't have the ability to keep up with it.
They need a better QA department, which is probably being horrifically underpaid.
It's probably underpaid, understaffed. It's probably just the same people they had.
If anyone has ever worked in QA, it is one of the worst jobs you can ever do.
I believe it.
You are incredibly mistreated at any company when you do QA.
I mean, it makes sense, because, like, literally your job is to make people unhappy, which is not... I mean, that's why so many people hate the IRS, because their job is literally to make people unhappy, but they're not happy about making people unhappy, they're just doing their job. Yeah,
and the thing is, it's like... I feel like something where, like, it's... QA, you know, in any of these things, where it's your job almost to make someone happy, it's like they're not technically doing that, it's just like a bad rap for, like, even like the tax people, like, oh, you're giving tax support for these sort of, like, again, like, I think it's a nebulous thing if you don't actually know where your taxes go, like, a lot of time makes
it's the kind of thing, I mean, the issue is the only time you interact with these people is when there's a problem. And that's really what it comes down to with QA. And, I mean, for taxes, the only time you interact with them is when you lose money. You know?
I mean, I've interacted with the IRS, and they're quite lovely to help me deal with the issue.
Honestly, the IRS, I think it's the worst rap. But QA, literally, their whole thing is just like, the only time QA comes around is when
there's an issue,
wrong. Yeah, when there's an issue. Which doesn't give them a good reputation, which makes people complain, which makes them underfunded and makes people miserable. So it's just like, it's this kind of thing where it's like people need to be what's the term, take a step back and look from the outside to things. I'm trying to think of that word.
Another perspective.
Yes, shift perspectives a little bit.
Things like that, you know.
Yeah, something along those lines. Yeah, like, but no, like,
hey, QA is very important.
Yeah, it is. No, it's like very important.
Yeah.
So, again, like, I hope this is, like, that we've had enough this year that they're going to have at least hire a couple more people, maybe, even if I just...
Well, I think another issue is they also do a lot of freelance work.
Yeah.
Well, that's not an issue.
It's very hard to police art the way they do it, right? Because there was the scandal with the AI art stuff, right?
Yeah, that's true. That is another issue. Is they do a lot of freelance. They hire a lot of freelance artists, which is wonderful for the freelance art community. But then you get those, like, scumbags who...
Yeah.
I mean, the problem is that some of the people who have become successful do it because they've learned how to cheat the system.
Yeah.
And there's one thing I will say about Wizards that is good is they do actually pay artists industry standard.
Yeah. Yep. No. It's again, like, it's that weird thing that there's a lot of negatives that I feel about Wizards, but they also are, in comparison to so many other groups out there, they're just okay.
Yeah, like I will always say, Wizards, they pay their writers and artists industry standard.
Yeah.
Which a lot of companies do not.
Yeah, it's kind of this weird thing where I think a lot of our talk about them is in the perspective of the RPG community.
I also think,
which is relatively a positive group. Like, a lot of people are very honest in the RPG community.
And I gotta admit, like, I get annoyed at Wizards a lot, and I think it's the same way I get annoyed at Steve Jackson Games, or even, like, sometimes USAopoly. Like, I've complained about all three of these groups, but it's because I know they can do good stuff, and that's why I think I get angry at them. You know, I'm like, I know you can, like, do good products and stuff like that. You know, I like a lot of USAopoly's original games.
I don't.
I mean, like, they got some neat ones. A couple of them that I thought were interesting. But, like, then they do, like, fucking the next Monopoly of
Spam Yahtzee.
Spam Yahtzee.
David Bowie.
I guess, well, okay, so maybe USAopoly is not the best comparison. Steve Jackson Game's a little better one. But anyway. I should move on a little bit and talk about... I just wanted to mention, and shout out, because we do have, honestly, two of the bigger tabletop RPG companies that are going to both have a bunch of stuff at PAX Unplugged, and that's D&D and Paizo. So I wanted to give out their information on it. And of course, I I mean, every time I see it now, I'm just gonna. This is just another side thing entirely. Why did D&D have to switch D&D Beyond to be their news site? I mean, it's just kind of weird, and the news doesn't order itself really well in D&D Beyond, and I kind of see what's going on in the week, but it's like...
Mostly because just consolidating resources. Why have two websites meet in one? It's cheaper.
Yeah, but they just fix the one, then. If you're just going to have the one, make it a little bit better and easier to understand.
Absolutely not. It's like asking Twitch to fix its UI. It's never going to happen.
Yeah, I know. Twitch.
Okay. Oh man, Twitch, like, literally, their tablet version of, or their Android version, I guess, just breaks every time I use it. Like, literally, you know, Danta sometimes, like, cuts out for a second, like, a stream stops and then restarts?
Mm-hmm.
Every time that happens, it pops up, the stream is ended, and then, like, as, like, a text, and that doesn't go away, even after he comes back. I have to completely close and restart it to get that to go away.
Oh my god. I'm sorry about that. I mean, it really only happens with, like, Fallout 4 because of its horrible unoptimization that it, like...
Yeah, it's like, not terribly common, but it's really annoying every time.
I'll get to a point in time where, like, the loading will, like, spike up in the use on Fallout 4, and it then just ends OBS, and, like, has that stop streaming, and I'm like, fuck you.
You need a new computer, man.
It's working on it. Like, I think there's like 1 or 2 parts that are coming down. It's still coming out, and then Joe can finish it for me, and I can go grab it. I was also going to provide though PAX Unplugged schedule for anybody that's going or wants to see and compare and know what's going on, just as a reference point. But yes, this is actually
already. What couldn't be fixed? That got
what? Oh, what was I saying? Oh, I was complaining about the D&D Beyond's UI for news a little bit.
Oh, got it.
You know, that's my entire thing. Which, because Wizards uses that specifically for all of their D&D news now, it would be nice if they would go in there and fix up the UI a little bit if they're using it like that. But instead of just using, I think, what was the original UI for that. But my entire thing here is that there hasn't really been a big D&D presence at PAX Unplugged for the past couple of years. So it's kind of interesting that they're supposedly going to have a much bigger presence this year. Like, I'm interested to also see if they do the same, like, with Magic to a degree.
There's a bunch of Magic panels, so...
I mean...
Or Magic events, rather, here.
They usually have, like, at least tournaments and stuff. But, like, it's sometimes hard to see, like, them do more than just, oh, we're hosting some tournaments. And actually, I don't even know if it's them hosting tournaments then. It might just be like Channel Fireball, which does the tournaments now in actuality. You know, if you want to go to like a Magic tournament place, it's Channel Fireball or something. It's no longer Wizards. They stopped doing it. So I don't know.
They got a very busy schedule this year. Jeez.
It's getting bigger, and I don't know if it's going to be good or bad. I think this year will kind of call things for me, which I maybe we'll talk about that a little bit before we get into like some questions, my thoughts on how this year is going to go. But maybe I'll share that.
You can go and listen to Matt Mercer talk. He's got a thing, I guess, this year.
Probably not. I gotta be honest. I don't go to a lot of panels.
Really go to any panels, I'll be real. I've done the convention thing in the past.
I've never been to a convention before.
Honestly, the things around the convention are nicer.
Yeah, the things around the convention. Panels are like, it's like maybe like half an hour to an hour of bullshitting for maybe about 5 minutes of actual stuff you want to learn about.
If I would go to this PAX Unplugged, I would go for maybe half a day and then go see all the historical stuff around Philadelphia.
I went to one convention. It was a local convention at college.
I've been to a lot of conventions, so I've been to Star Trek. I went to a horror one once. Nice. Godzilla. Some anime ones. I've been to both PAX Unplugged, PAX East, and PAX South when it still existed. Was there another one in there I'm forgetting? There might be. I've been to a couple other smaller tabletop conventions too, but they were pretty dinky.
Early convention person these days.
Conventions are good times to hang out with friends. I'm gonna have to
right.
So this is a very interesting thing that I wanted to kind of bring up because it's something that's not out. I guess is it out yet? Is GM Core out? I don't remember if that was released. I think it was the Player Core, GM Core were released. But apparently in the new core, they have what they're calling, like, exploration mode, which is supposed to be, like, it's something that is always kind of talked about when it comes to adventuring, but they're kind of actually, dividing it up a little bit more in the way they're doing things, setting up for adventures and quests, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, I think. It's sort of like this idea of most of the time in a TTRPG, it's you do a bunch of shit and then get in a fight. And there is like this, there are technically like, I would say 3 different modes that exist. It's just that you kind of don't have, you kind of just blend a couple of the other ones together, which can work, but also having like specifically like, here's how everything works for these different ways isn't bad either, because for me, and for us that have more veteran things, I think it doesn't help as much, you know? It's the same thing of like, the general combat rules.
Yeah,
but
for those in chat who are maybe confused, there are 3 pillars of tabletop role-playing games: exploration, social interaction, combat. You're probably more used to social interaction and combat, because I'm gonna be real with you, exploration, boring.
My favorite.
Mechanically pretty dull in a lot of systems, the exploration stuff, especially in 5e.
Yeah.
Pathfinder's a little better. Stars or OSR does it really well, in my opinion, but
I think Traveler makes a great thing out of exploration, the way you can randomly roll a planet if you need to.
In 5th edition, exploration just kind of isn't there.
Yeah, and I think kind of defining exploration a little bit better and doing something where you're doing like this exploration mode makes it more of an event that like it's similar to like it might be kind of like your what am I thinking of? Other systems have had it before, like skill challenges and stuff. I think that was 4E that I'm remembering had skill challenges and like this entire setup of things that it was like it was an encounter, but instead of combat, it was skill based and stuff too. And you know, depending on how things went for that, you could build that. And I know other systems have done it too, but that's just the one I'm remembering now. But that would be more along the lines of like an exploration mode, that it's related to a bunch of skills and like smaller activities. And defining it a lot better, I think, is a good thing, because it is a pillar of your stuff. It's just that a lot of times it kind of sucks.
Also really cool, because there's, in Pathfinder and 5e, classes that invalidate a lot of the exploration mechanics, like Ranger or Druid.
Yeah. But...
Wait, what do you mean?
So Ranger, in at least in 5th edition, basically if you have a Ranger, you will not have to deal with any survival related stuff, because
I see what you mean.
they're very good at, or Druid, like stuff like Hunger, gone because Goodberry, right?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's necessarily the core of survival. Isn't necessarily the core of exploration. It's like it can be a part of it, but I don't think that's what exploration is.
One of the big aspects of exploring is being away from the civilized lands.
And the thing is, like,
I mean, I disagree, but
well, I think what it is.
I mean, but I also disagree about
a lot of the reason is I understand why you're disagreeing, but I think the real reason is because survival tends to be the one major way you can add in exploration to an adventure very easily. It's the exploration crutch, because you're just like, oh, you need some food, oh, you need some water, there's your exploration kind of thing going on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you basically have to have a group that wants exploration, and to force it on people, you generally need to be like, there's no one nearby. You must explore to survive.
Well,
So I get that.
I think it's the idea that maybe what it becomes is that it's a story beat of it, and that's what second edition here is trying to do a little bit better and present it in that way. From reading up on it here, they're trying to make it that it is like just another phase of things that you kind of transition to. You know, you're like, oh, we're, you know, rather than just making it like you travel to this place, make it that maybe it's like we spend, you know, a little bit of time with you traveling to this place and interacting with the environment and getting an idea. Like, it sucks to be like just roll a bunch of checks to cross a jungle, but maybe describing the jungle and having them interact with it and figure stuff out and maybe do a couple of dice rolls might be a more organic way to be like you're exploring a jungle. And I think that's kind of like the idea that's trying to be presented, is to make the travel something. It doesn't need to be a major thing, but make it much more than just I end up there, you know, or just make a lot of dice rolls.
Yeah, because again, this is obviously for second edition Pathfinder, which I have played exactly 3 sessions of in my entire life. The pirate game we did, which was very explory heavy, all the exploration was roll 3 checks, failed them, sorry, you don't find anything. Because that's how APs are written.
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of things don't do exploration very well.
Yeah, and I hope they
like
can improve on it genuinely.
Yeah, I'm trying to, but yeah. Can you download? I actually bought the Pathfinder books. Can you look at do you get their And I never downloaded a PDF because I bought them. Do you get those for free if you buy them in physical?
If you bought it through them, I know at least.
Through their website, I think you get a PDF.
Then you should, if you look through your stuff, it should be there theoretically.
Dude, I don't see it. Anyway, well, I was gonna look at it and see, but oh well. Maybe it hasn't finished processing or something.
If you bought it around now, it might have, honestly, because of the, holiday season and stuff, too. They were closed down both Thursday and Friday. So it's neat. I'm glad that they are using this as, like, they're trying to basically shore up one of those 3 pillars in a way to make it... It is a thing that's part of the game. Make it important again, you know, kind of like, and make it add flavor. There is a interesting up on Kickstarter now and funded 5e setting and module, Amari, the Pillars of Power. God, I'm trying to not say his name correctly. It's very magic-usy. Magic, anti-magic, psionics, chronomancy. It's a very, like, magic-heavy system, it seems, from reading up on it a little bit. Which isn't necessarily bad. Have we gotten a lot of, like, just generally huge magic settings, you know?
24 subclasses, 3 classes, 9 unique people.
Yeah.
Anthropomorphic peoples, I think that just means also races. Fantastic. 21 feats.
Well, they also have firearms, mechs, vehicles, and I guess they're all magic-based. I want a magic mech!
Alright, so I'm gonna just shout something out for people who are like, you know, it's just another Kickstarter thing. I gotta find it. Where was it? Yeah, Ed Greenwood worked on this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Ed Greenwood did.
Keith Baker.
Yeah.
And I was about to say Keith Baker, too.
Yeah, these are... Some of the people that worked on this are very big names in the industry. So
there are
keep that in
names
mind.
who worked on this, so that's very good.
Yeah, you're right. There's an important thing that I sometimes miss is like who's working on some of these things, and like this is an example that you definitely get some a good team of people developing the world that have a lot of credentials when it comes to building detailed and interesting worlds. And
the good Gygax also worked on this. Luke Gygax.
It's such a silly thing to say that, but it's also like it's so true that apparently, like, you know, there's the two Gygax children.
Mark, you're in this too. Damn. The hell, there's some big names here.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Mark Muir is Commander Shepard for Mass Effect.
Mm-hmm.
Also an avid D&D player.
So they brought together quite a team to help build the world and mechanics and stuff.
Oh, I'm interested. I just backed it. Anyway.
So, I mean, again, like, I think this is, unfortunately, where I really see a lot of 5e going. I do not know how much one D&D will be successful, but I feel like nowadays, this is what we're going to get much more of, and I feel better about. Anyway, just because we were getting a lot anyway, and this is the essence of everybody comes up with something that's its own version of it that, you know, works well and adds some interesting flavor to what is essentially a very cookie cutter system.
Yeah.
So good on them. It's funded. Really great pedigree. Looks neat. We're shouting it out, and it's got 11 days to go.
Yep.
All right.
The trailer has Ed Greenwood dressed as Elminster. You know it's good at that point.
I'm not gonna lie. I really feel like I think Ed Greenwood just wanted an excuse to dress up as Elminster.
Dude, I mean, he's like a pretty cool dude.
Look, if someone told me, like, you just have it, like, if I had the costume or something and someone gave me an excuse for it, you know.
His house is canonically in D&D.
Yeah.
Elminster and Mordenkainen hang out at it.
I forgot. So here was an interesting story that I wanted to talk about, because now I got a couple of, like, honestly, we'll go for some downer-ish stories, and we'll go up and we'll end with some, like, upper stories. So, apparently, New York's upset at eBay because, I'll just post this Dicebreakers article I saw.
Yeah, I was very confused about this one. I was like, where the hell is this one going?
I saw this article, yeah.
Yeah, so apparently eBay is removing language from a human rights policy?
Yeah, no,
I'm just sorry.
Pretty bad, dude.
The word human rights policy screamed to me like, what the hell?
Removing pro-union language from human rights policy.
Yeah.
TCG players use.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, he's on the eBay bought TCG player back in October.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And they've been basically it's been pretty downhill from there.
Magic Gathering, Pokemon trading, card Yu-Gi-Oh, and more.
TCG Player is that's the thing is I think about TCG Player. That was always the like site for a long time that I was using to get prices and stuff because it was a very good point for it. But if it's unfortunately going downhill because of it, I'm kind of like
Yeah, the site itself is still fine, but a lot of the worker policies have gotten pretty bad.
That sucks. So it's basically they're basically trying to crush things because they're do they have a union or are they still trying to unionize?
I think they're still attempting to unionize. I think they have a union.
Yeah,
actually.
no. So what happened? So based on this little article, it basically says that basically things went downhill. They went to unionize. I think they got everything like official, but eBay's been like doing allegedly illegal stalling actions to prevent it from being like officially like functional.
It sounds like they're like they're attempting with their policies to move the union goalpost almost. Like, oh, now you don't have everything for it. Oh, too bad. a little bit. I don't know. But the idea of changing policies against that, which would make it more difficult for them within their, I guess, work charter. I don't know. But it sounds terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah, basically, when eBay took them over, they cut wages and like made everything terrible. And then they're like, "We're not going to stand for this. This is terrible." And then so they unionized, and they're trying to stop that.
And now New York's getting involved in it.
Companies are going to be companies.
Companies being companies, and I mean, at very least, New York is stepping in on it. It sounds like to go after eBay for their actions. So
yeah,
hopefully things will get sorted out for the workers at TCG Player. You know,
hopefully.
And it's one of those things that's unfortunately is. I would love that we would have industries where you didn't need unions, but we need unions in a lot of industries because if you didn't, they'd be terrible. And this is a situation where we need one, so I would hope that they'd be able to get their collective bargaining.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like they didn't need one before they were bought out. You know, that's why.
Yeah. And I think, you know, that's the thing is, if you don't need one, you're in a good job and in a good business, and that's where you want to be with a job. And, you know, unions have their place. It's just like, you know, they do. It's just that's, you know, when things are bad, you need a union more than anything. If things are good, you don't need one.
Kind of this funny thing where it's like if a company just behaves and treats their workers with respect, like unions in the long run can actually be pretty bad because they create like a thing that can actually be very corrupt.
Yeah, there is
a
definitely
lot of
corruption.
unions get corrupted because like it's just so easy when you're like, oh, if you give me some money, I'll make it easier. You know, it's like.
We get very famous examples like the Teamsters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Had a lot of corruption, and it doesn't happen everywhere.
Also,
but...
can like SAG-AFTRA is good, but they
some.
also have some. They've had a lot of history with issues.
I definitely have heard some
historical issues.
I definitely have heard some of those stories from SAG-AFTRA too. So it's sort of like it's that, you know, it's very helpful, but there's also the issues of corruption and problems that can occur both ways. So it's sort of like.
What I find funny is unions aren't good for companies. Unions aren't good for the workers. So the best thing that both people can do to make everyone happy is just be kind to your workers.
But companies don't think of that a lot. Anyway,
no, you have to force the company to be kind.
I know.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but most of them.
Another thing that. You know, I saw these two articles were like right next to each other at Dice Breakers, and I had to bring this one up too. Is Asmodee's laying off a crap ton of staff, hundreds of staff.
2023 has been the year of layoffs in a lot of industries.
Asmodee, okay.
Asmodee is now they were bought out, right? They were bought up by
Asmodee was bought by Embracer, and Embracer is kind of going under at the moment.
Because I also know Asmodee was like, this is a weird thing of like corporations because Embracer owns Asmodee, and Asmodee owned a lot of smaller like tabletop groups. I remember. I think they probably still do because I just would remember it was a PAX Unplugged many years ago. I went to talk to someone, and in order to talk to them, I'd have to talk to someone from Asmodee first.
Yeah, Asmodee still has a lot of companies under it, but Embracer is the head. For those you don't know, Embracer basically lost a $2 billion deal this year. And has been severely financially struggling since. So they're undergoing deep restructuring, and it has caused a lot of people in tabletop and games industry to be laid off.
I can post a meme in Tantus's chat. Anyone, or in Tantus's Discord, to take a look at it. This is more just for anyone in the YouTube video or on Twitch who wants to go look at it. No, Tantus has a Discord. But, it just made me think of that. Basically, it's just like a ship sinking and just a bunch of executives that are just like, oh, why aren't we going anywhere? And just like...
Reported 904 people over the last 3 months from their group. That's a lot more. When they said hundreds, I didn't know it was that much.
The embrace for Umbrella has been pretty bad lately because they've made a really big gamble and it did not pay off.
Anyway. Yeah. Asomdee, I'm guessing from the image at the front, owns Catan.
They do.
Yeah. They control the Catan group, which is its own thing. Days of Wonder, which does Ticket to Ride, and I don't know the one that does Exploding Kittens.
Pretty much a large amount of like the popular tabletop games are under Asomdee.
I think it's Come On. I think it's Fantasy Flight. There's a couple more that I'm forgetting.
Lookout Games, Z-Man Games.
Z-Man, that's what I'm forgetting. I do remember that I'd seen that like Plaid Hat Games had been under them, but then bought themselves out.
Yeah.
Which was actually probably a really good move at this point in time. It was better to go independent. I mean, like, again, without the management, sometimes there is good points to be in like a larger kind of publishing sphere like this. It's not always necessarily a bad thing, but like Embracer just kind of fuck things.
Yeah, Embracer basically did I forget what it's called, but you start buying up a lot of companies, and then unfortunately one of it, we don't know what the deal was, but it ended up costing them $2 billion, and now they are having severe financial troubles because of it.
Well, you know.
Oh, they also have Twilight Imperium.
They do, yeah.
Oh,
I was looking at the games. Yeah, Twilight Imperium, Zombie Dice, and Arkham Horror, the card game. I think are the ones I've heard of.
Yeah,
obviously.
Yeah, the whole Embracer thing you've been following it for a while is really rough.
So my heart goes out to those that lost their jobs from this entire thing. Hopefully, you know, the tabletop industry can be difficult. I hope you find something. You know, as much as I think Asomdee has been a lot of more publisher type thing, I think they still have done a couple of games on their own because they used to be like more direct game publishing.
There were a number that I saw when I was looking them up. I just closed the tab. But yeah, I just mentioned the popular ones.
Yeah. But I got a couple of other just RPG topics to talk about to finish up today that'll hopefully, you know, clean our palate of the darker kind of like stuff in the world.
Yay, business world.
Yay, business world. So, Brotherwise Games, which is a very interesting one to publish this because these are the people that do Boss Monster, is going to be doing next year Stormlight Archive, the RPG, which seems to be based on the Stormlight Archive novel series, which I don't know a lot about.
People say it's very good. I have never read it because I do not like Brandon Sanderson that much.
Yeah, they're working with Brandon Sanderson and Dan Wells to build the RPG with a lot of, including like updating, I guess, and including some of the lore they already have from the world, and you know, like clarifying things. It's going to be its own original system. And it's, you know, it's a epic fantasy world that, you know, maybe you like it. And they're hoping to make it good enough that, you know, anybody can get into it regardless if you like the novels or not. That's a kind of like, we'll have to see how it comes out next year.
Yeah.
I find this interesting. Brotherwise has done some good stuff. I've talked with them in the past. I like their Boss Monster series. I think they've worked on one other RPG in the past, I thought. Or something that was related to it. They've done some stuff that are like at least RPG related. I don't know if this is their first true big RPG, TTRPG. It might be, but
their flagship RPG is Call to Adventure.
Oh, Call to Adventure. That's right. That's what I was thinking of. Which is an interesting thing. So you know. Hopefully they do well with this. It was an interesting company to see that was doing this, and interesting little concept based on a book series. So, if I remember to, I'll talk about it next year at some point in time. It depends on if I find out sometimes about topics and stuff. Anyway, speaking of RPGs, because you know, is this the RPG? It's not. I was looking to. Let me just. Sorry. check that I got the correct thing here. Where did that link go that I had before? I opened a new one. I was gonna talk about the Adventure Time. Well, they have the 10th anniversary of their Card Wars game. Oh, my brain sometimes just breaks completely and utterly. Don't mind me. I'll work on it. But they have... Where is that? Oh, so what's going on is there's going to be a Adventure Time RPG that they've been talking about in the facts of the Card Wars 10th anniversary to a degree. They kind of like mentioned something in there that's doing it. So next year in the first quarter, we're getting the Adventure Time RPG, and they're getting also the 10th. I kind of thought originally, like, okay. There you go. So if you're a fan of Adventure Time, we're getting an RPG on it, and if you like their Card Wars, which I recall from it, isn't it based on a card game that was in the show?
Yes, it is based on the Card Wars game from Adventure Time.
Oh, fuck, I just realized it's the 10th anniversary. That's how
long
ago.
Time's old. Yeah,
fucking god damn it. I'll link to the Card Wars, the campaign, and you can check out the facts if you want to. But
Wait.
Oh, there it is. Momo linked it there.
That's the link to the Kickstarter page that's not live yet.
And there's the Card Wars one if you're interested in that too.
Yeah.
Is the 10th anniversary the anniversary when it started or ended?
I think it's the 10th anniversary of when the Card Wars game came out.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Because the show is older than 10 years.
Yeah. That's what it means. The show is older than 10 years because the card game,
the show
based on a card game.
2010.
Oh, it's Cryptozoic. I missed
It is
Cryptozoic. Cryptozoic does
pretty good stuff.
Sometimes I'm so not observant that I miss too.
For those of you who want to feel old, Adventure Time is from 2010, based on a short film from 2007.
I remember the short film.
I also remember the short film.
Wasn't it actually on Nickelodeon?
It was on Nickelodeon originally, and then Cartoon Network bought the rights to it.
I remember
because
that.
Nickelodeon passed on it, and then it became a very successful show.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So they were going to originally do a custom system for their RPG, but now they're just going to use they're doing a smart move that they're having difficulty coming up with a custom system and making it work. They're just going to use 5e.
Yeah, it's fine.
There's so many games that use that. I'm not against that because
honestly, like the D20 system Wizards made is like just a good system.
It's just such a good jack of all trades.
It works for everything.
Yeah. It requires a little work to build on top of it, but that's a lot easier than custom building a system sometimes. So
we're gonna pivot in a second. Just talk about something stupid I just saw in here when you're finished.
Okay. I think that's a good spot.
There's an Evil Dead 2 board game being made. I just saw this in my recommendations.
Oh boy, let's take a look.
Hell yeah, I love this movie. It's mega funded because of course it is.
Look, Evil Dead 2.
Evil Dead 2 is like one of the best movies ever made.
It's this weird point in time when I do really like it a lot, but it's also it's like a comedy remake of Evil Dead 1 almost.
The first 15 minutes are a remake of the first movie because they couldn't get the rights to use the first movie for a recap. So they had to remake it.
And it's just like, and it definitely dives into, there's a lot of comedy in the first one, but they really really delve into it.
They're horror comedies. Here's a fun fact: none of the Evil Dead movies end the same way, or begin the same way the last one ended.
God.
I need to watch more horror movies. I really like horror movies, but I just never watch them.
I really recommend the original Evil Dead trilogy. I think the remake I guess the reboots are fine, although I think they're just like, they're actual horror. They're not a horror comedy, so I don't think they have the charm to them.
Yeah, and I feel like the one they did... Well, go ahead. You gotta know it.
I was about to say, yeah, because I just watched The Thing last night for
Great
Halloween,
movie.
just this last year.
I think it's a great movie. The 2011 prequel, not as good.
Yeah. 2011 prequel, not as good. It's not terrible, but it's not like really...
It's like
fine.
It's got
fine.
too much CGI.
Yeah. Honestly speaking, I had rewatched, and I was surprised at how it was like... It also fits in that fine category, but the original Thing from Another World, the Black...
Oh, the original. Oh, yeah, that's a good movie.
It's such a silly movie, too, because if you think about it, but it's not bad, you know, even nowadays.
Any old movie, like pre-80s, is just going to be inherently silly to watch.
Yeah. I mean, there still are some that are very bad. What was it, like, I can't remember the name of it, but it's the weird bird monster that's just a really bad puppet. That's just...
I don't know what that one's called, but I've seen it.
I've seen that puppet. I can't remember it. I've seen that movie. It's just, you shake your head and be like, you could have just splurged for slightly better puppet.
Anyways, the Evil Dead 2 board game looks like it'll be a lot like the Resident Evil board games, which I'm down for.
Yeah. It'll have co-op solo play. I mean, it's one of those things, is solo play for board games fine always. I feel like it's just one of those things that's like, you can't have it.
The goal is the goal of the second movie. Find the pages and seal the portal.
Yep. And you can go... I guess it's a little like the Thing, the movie board game, where like you can get someone that can get infected and stuff and become a thing. And so you can go evil and go bad!
Become a Deadite.
Yeah. So it is possible to get corrupted by the game and then have to go murder everybody. So, neat. I just then wanted to finish up today by shouting out some stuff from Modiphius, because they did release some things. We'll start with I think we mentioned that this was coming out before, but the Fallout role-playing game, the Settler's Guide book, is out now. At least the PDF copy of it you can get. So, it focuses on it actually does focus on stuff. New characters, so Commonwealth Minuteman, New California Republic, robots more, settlement management. I think we mentioned we heard about this before.
Yeah, we talked about this when it was announced. The settlement stuff is very necessary to the game.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those things that's like, I think we talked about it then. As much as settlement sucks kind of in like Fallout,
as much as it's ass in Fallout 4, it's like actually really cool to do in a board or in a tabletop game.
Yeah, because it honestly makes sense in like a post-apocalyptic survival game where you're going out and helping a community, you know, bring back stuff. You know,
thank God there's finally a new setting for not the common. I hate the common so much.
It's almost as if while role-playing, you can have interaction with the settlers.
Yeah,
helping
almost like maybe when you're designing an important feature of your game, you should make a UI for it.
That too.
And you just don't show up at a place and they're like, we need your help with this person who totally doesn't help us with everything we do already.
The best way to make me love an NPC is to have them repeat the same line every time I fucking come within 5 feet of him.
Fucking goddamn. I can't talk to Preston when I go back. I want to like...
He is awful.
Well, look, I also just... I haven't gotten to the area where his quest line for the Minuteman is, which I want to do, but I'm like, as soon as I clear that area on the map, I'm going to actually talk to him again. But every other time I talk to him, he's like, this settlement needs help. You have to go clear out this things nearby.
Fallout 4 experience.
But I'm like, didn't I already murder all these people already? And now you're like telling me like, this place that was cleared out has respawned or something. Anyway, Anyway, companions, automatrons, arsenals, weapons, and some really cool stuff. So
Good stuff you can use in your game. As someone who's run Fallout, the role-playing game, it's very good.
I did like it. I kind of want to do more. They like 2D20 systems.
I'm probably going to start running a smaller game of it at some point. I don't know when yet.
And the other thing is a new RPG setting that is a 2D20 book that Modiphius has published a number of books on, but I'm going to show off the player's guide here. Dreams and Machines came out.
It's this setting.
It's a new RPG setting. People coming together to rebuild a world post a catastrophic war. So
kind of makes me think of Will.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's going to be like a little, I guess, post-apocalyptic. It's not quite post-apocalyptic. It's not quite. It's probably a little cyberpunk futuristic. It's like the idea. Yeah, like, you know, it was. It was War Against Machines. Was 200 years ago. So the machines are dormant, and they sometimes still wake up. So basically, you know, it was a catastrophic war against machines. Think like, you know, a Terminator war, except technically speaking, people would have won, and this is kind of rebuilding afterwards.
But also, the Terminators aren't completely gone. There might still be some around.
It probably got rid of like their major control things, so there's like a couple of them just.
This is Terminator if it didn't have time travel.
Kind of is, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, like, you know,
if anything, it makes it better.
Yeah. So it's an interesting thing. It's a new 2D20 system. PDF's $20. If you want the player's guide, there's a couple other books in the system that are out now that they released. So, you know, I thought that one looked cool too. I wanted to shout out that they actually have the settlement stuff as we talk about it out, and this one looked like a kind of cool little release that Modiphius does. They do what they do best and have interesting things that they either are publishing or making a lot of times. So cool. All right. Let's see. Do I have a topic for today? I don't know.
Do you?
Maybe. I think for now, before I choose a topic, why don't we? I want to chat for a moment about my thoughts on how, you know, this will reflect, you know, the bloat in a convention a little bit, and I think I want to talk about this because we certainly are probably seeing that a bunch with PAX Unplugged. But I'm not going to lie, probably with things like Gen Con, it's already reached like that bloat. And I think that's the thing that I'm thinking about more and more as the years go on for conventions, is like, yeah, they become just, the bigger a convention gets, it's the unfortunate thing that it becomes harder to enjoy the essence of what that convention is a little bit more, unfortunately. Certainly for, you know, something like PAX Unplugged, it's just that there's, I gotta admit, I think I talked about this earlier in the week. I was thinking about this, is how the hell am I going to be able to, like, see everything that's there in a reasonable way? Or, like, you know, I don't think I can, like, you know, have mass amounts of chats with people about a lot of topics because, like, there's just so much there. So I'm just going to have to figure something out and do what I can do.
I mean, the goal is to just keep you in the convention center, within the building.
There is, but it's like, I feel like it's kind of that it's not just, you know, all the things you can do, but also, like, just the piles and piles of everybody's there showing everything off and stuff.
Way too many people.
Yeah. So,
like I said, I would go for like one day and then go do something else.
Yeah, you know, like I honestly, you know, getting some friends in that I could maybe, like, we can check out the convention and then afterwards we can do some hanging or something. And you know, the one thing that I do like, and if I had a bunch of people that I would want to hang out with, is they do have things like their tabletop library, which is really a cool idea. I like the idea of it, you know, the excuse sometimes to go to the convention and just, you know, and some shopping sometimes. Anyway, why don't we talk about our week in gaming, and I'll come up with a topic for this.
Weeks.
Okay.
in
I'll
gaming.
let someone else go first because I need to go to the bathroom.
Okay. I think I will talk about Win Joe's game. After
Oh.
3 weeks, we had Joe's. Technically, it's supposed to be bi-weekly game, but we skipped a week so that we could get
Congratulations.
someone back. We've had 2 sessions. I've been finding it interesting. It's not a bad plot so far. I think Joe feels like he's learned a lot from his time with Grinding Gears, which Grinding Gears was fine, but there was a lot of issues with it, and sticking to some simplicity is probably pretty good. Like character, we're solving mysteries, you know, we're not rewriting history. No, that was. I had to make that joke, and it's so bad. I'm sorry. Sorry, everyone. I'm very sorry. I don't know why saying solving mysteries made me think of DuckTales.
Are you sorry?
No, not really, but...
That's not.
I did bureaucracy because that's my character. Is you know, I took the noble background, and it was an excuse to work for the town as just a low-level bureaucrat. But now I've been involved with like adventuring, and I'm kind of a little excited about it because it's more than just, you know.
Hey, that's fair, right?
Yeah. So, you know, learning some things, getting some stuff, backstory. There's plots going on. We'll see how it goes. 2 sessions on. Did you do anything on Sunday?
Sunday we had Lightning's game.
Ooh.
Where
Yeah, Joe's game.
Yeah, that's why I'm finishing talking.
Oh, sorry.
we did some talking to folks. We got our next destination. We're gonna go talk to fish people about some stuff.
Sweet.
I may or may not have a demon wife now. Just D&D things.
Usual. Just that's a Tuesday. Get a demon wife.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm also kind of a demon person, so you know it works.
Yeah. Let's see here. Did you do anything on Monday?
No, I did nothing on Monday.
I
I played Lethal Company on Monday, but I think that doesn't count. It's not tabletop.
I'll add in because this is a good point of time. Worm, how's Baldur's Gate 3 going since you've been streaming it?
I mean, I really only had 1 day of actually streaming it, which was today, because I've been sick all week and I haven't had a voice.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, I snuck into a vault of a snooty wizard and stole his valuable books.
Nice.
Good
Nerd
times.
deserves it. What a freak.
He was snooty. He deserves it.
What an asshole.
Yeah, but otherwise, I've been just playing the game on tactician mode.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about that in before the show on Wednesday. So
yeah, the hardest part I'd say are the first like two character levels. Then you hit level 3 and things start to actually mellow out. Also, you just don't have enough supplies to like sleep.
Interesting.
And you have to be very careful with your resources. Then I actually just did a little bit of a snack a little bit ago where it's all like, you have to reach 5th level so you get those extra attacks before you fight other people at 5th level who have those extra attacks. But beyond that, I feel like it's been not too difficult as long as you're smart enough. Also, I had to realize, okay, wait, the bonuses they gave them are bonuses to attack, meaning I should focus more on defense. And now things are...
It's the same way that like I feel like part of that is the same thing like when I'm playing like honestly the games that I do play at higher difficulty like Civ or Stellaris, understanding where the computer gives bonuses and like reading that. It's a. I think that works in a lot of different games and stuff. But yeah, understand. Okay. Anybody do anything on Tuesday?
I ran my game on Tuesday. It was the last session. They fought a dragon who was evil and doing bad stuff. They got a bunch of data for a side plot, and then their boss and medic stole all that data and left.
Well,
but they got paid for the bounty on the dragon, so I think they're mostly happy.
okay, so they at least got some kind of money.
They got robbed.
Oh, they did get robbed. Wow. Lightning's gonna kill them.
Yeah, lightning is gonna kill them. Lightning has sworn vengeance against these two NPCs.
Hey, I had a game I ran on Wednesday. If you missed it on this channel, go check it out. I've been having a lot of fun with it, and honestly speaking, you know, I didn't do a lot to switch how the book presented things, but I let things develop in such an insane way, and it was very fun.
So weird.
It was so
weird.
It was a little weird. Somehow convinced a group of thugs that, you know, we can work with you. And they're like, okay, do a job for us, which involves beating a person to death. And they're like, oh, we're technically not going to do that. We have a corpse. Let's bring it to them. Beat up so it's hard to recognize it's not someone else. Then they got with the gang, learned their secrets, and then managed to destroy the soul of, like, who's running the place, because he technically didn't know about the murders for hire. Oh. God, you broke a man.
Good.
It was quite an adventure.
Yeah.
Yep. But you're set up for the next part. You're hanging out with a very nice,
It's like a sword fighty man.
sword fighting man, yeah. He technically runs a school of sword fighting.
Yeah. He wants to talk to me. For
Yes.
some reason. I don't remember why.
It's fine. It'll come up when we... Did anybody do anything on Thursday?
No, I did nothing on Thursday because I don't really. That game ended.
Okay, haven't replaced it as of yet.
Yeah, that's going to be replaced in January.
Also, Thursday was Turkey. So.
That's true.
Thursday was also Thanksgiving, Cantus. I was working.
Well, look, you know, my brain sometimes forgets these things.
I was at my job, making money.
I was technically eating turkey and taking pictures of a very lumpy cat. Lots of
those. I did see those cat pictures. They were very cute.
Yeah, it's look, you know, the cat's name is Simba, and Simba, like, he just lies in such a way around the place. It's just so epic.
So is that you've adopted the cat then?
No, it's my that's my cousin's cat.
Oh, it's a cute cat.
Yeah. But we have adopted the two kittens.
You did take the two kittens in.
Mm-hmm. We discovered they were 6 weeks old because we took them to the vet today. They aren't old enough for their shots yet for vaccines, but they're both female and 6 weeks. So
young cats.
Yep. And, so we got a pair of siblings, which will just definitely help out with them being distracted with each other.
Yeah.
Good times. Anyway, anything on Friday?
No, I had nothing on Friday.
Okay. And I guess Saturday is just doing for a later page. Hey, I did talk about some tabletop. If you want to go see them or something, but
Yeah, you did talk about that.
it's you know, it's one of those things that you reflect upon that, like, early 2000s, as much as we were trying, we still weren't quite there with a lot of things, you know?
No.
So that's kind of where I'm at with it. We were trying with early 2000s. So, oh yeah, hey, I did have this one. I don't think I've talked about the topic. Let me just check my overall long topic list to make sure I haven't talked about this one. like a fool. No. We've talked about, like, overall, the concept of villains and such in games as, like, more challenges. But I did want to cause a topic, because it's been on my list for a little bit, talking about doing villains correctly in a game. Because I think that's another aspect of it. Like, we can talk about running the battles and the combats with them and having, like, the challenge that is your, like, enemy or your villain or something. But to make it like an actual villain, you gotta do more than just have a fight against them. And I think it's something that can oftentimes end up not good in a battle. Like, what's a good example of, like, a villain done wrong that I've really experienced lately? Where I've done... Okay, I actually have a good one that I ran. Fucking Everything in Skulls and Shackles of fucking Harrigan.
Yeah, that guy is the main villain who shows up, like, twice in the campaign.
And then is also, like, killed off in the 5th adventure.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, oh, wait.
The fake villain.
And then this other guy is totally the main villain now. And you're like, is he? Kinda? Bonefist just wasn't the villain, but became it then at the end. And it was just sort of weird. And I feel like it's a game where villains aren't done correctly. Like, it really should have been Harrigan that was your enemy at the end. And there are probably things you could have done with that I think would have been better. But it's just... yeah. So, like, here's a question I kind of asked to both of you to think about it here. Well, I guess more Momo in this case. What do you think could have been done to make our good friend Harrigan more of an actual villain?
My honest opinion on Harrigan. Have him show up more in the fucking campaign. I mean, because he shows up twice. He shows up for, like, one thing in the first book. Yeah. For the one raid. And then he is the boat race.
Yep.
And then he was only at the party because we invited him, I'm pretty sure.
Yes. You invited him to the party and made him a part of that.
It's like, but if you don't, he just doesn't show up again until book 5. Right? It's a good reason to hate him. He does enslave you. Yeah. But, like, there's no motivation to bother with him. He just sucks. He's a shit villain.
They don't just show up as long as they influence things.
Exactly.
That's the thing. He doesn't do anything.
Yeah. His entire thing ends up being, like, part of, like, him becoming a villain because of what he does in book 1. It is a pretty good opening for a reason to hate him. But, like, they don't really have a good and I think I didn't even realize it until it was kind of a little too late and kind of the back end. The way that they, like, present it. I would have had to read through all 6 books to get an idea of how they presented this thing.
Well, how I would have changed it, because each book had a vague threat in it. Book 2 was the weird sorcerer lady you had rolling as a 20th level character. Book 3 was the spy stuff.
Yeah. Book 4
was the Cyclopses. You can't really work him in on that very well. Yeah. But what I would have done is have sent the sorcerer after you. Have him tied into the spy stuff, because he's working for Trellix anyways. And then have him have done something to fuck with your island stuff. Just have him actually be doing things against you.
Yeah. I think it's like... It's one of the things that I actually say I've always enjoyed about... Let's take a good example where I think they, like, just the general writing, not how you do it, but the general writing is pretty good, is, honestly, Curse of Strahd. Because Strahd literally shows up and dicks with you if he wants to. They, like, talk about that in the game, It's sort of like, Strahd likes just dicking with people and we'll do that. You know,
There's generally a few times where you want him to like show up and do things, or to and also, but he also has his hand in everything, like too.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a
I think of one villain worse than Harrigan from Pathfinder, and it's Vrood from Carrion Crown. The guy who doesn't show up at all until book 3.
Yes. It's the guy who totally was behind everything, and the thing is, you know his organization's behind it, but you do not know his name and who he is until, like, you
I have read
kick his
through
ass.
book 1 of Carrion Crown. I've read through it a few times because I did run it. It just says it does. It's an optional thing you can do. You don't even have to do it. It just says if you want the party to be introduced to him, he can send the party a letter after their victory. Like, why not just have him be at the funeral?
That was a great idea. I was thinking about that too. Have him show up and like have like maybe like a skull cane or something, and like dressed in like a nice like suit or something. Something that like you don't notice it until like you think about it later and do some of that research. That his cane was like, oh, it had the fucking symbol, the Whispering Way on it. Who the hell was this guy that was like there? You know, like have him maybe like make some like off-sign remarks, be a little shady or something like that, and like also then like maybe like hear about something that he was doing in Lepidstadt then too, or then like have it that you establish him and like find evidence that you're on his trail.
Name him I like Lightning Sides. Rename him to Steve Whisper.
Steve Whisper. Name's Steve Whisper. Don't mind that. It's totally a real name. God.
What I've learned is Pathfinder doesn't do villains very well.
I'm starting to notice that. I mean, they kind of really didn't do it well with Lamb either.
That was very funny that he dies in session 1.
Yeah,
where you kill him in the first dungeon. That was very funny.
It's the thing that also, like, he is kind of the villain to all of your backstories, but, like, really, he's not anywhere near the villain in the story. That's
what's even funnier is his lore builds him up to be so much more. And what's even funnier than that is Joe lost his backstory trait in session 2.
Well, he just changed it. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it just is such a silly thing that, Lamb is just this, like, because the thing is, like, I think it's, you're encountering him way past his heyday.
Like, his lore is like, he's this minor criminal mastermind, and then you meet him, he's a level 3 rogue.
Actually,
he's also old.
He's a level. He's actually pretty high level. It's the fact that he's old that makes him suck.
It's his ass kicked.
I think he's like a level 4 expert, level 3 rogue, which is actually pretty damn high level. It's just
the crocodile is deadlier than him.
The crocodile is deadlier.
The crocodile is also a crocodile.
Yeah, the crocodile literally took me down like 3/4 of my health in one attack.
Adventure paths don't do villains very well. From my experience, and I can share this. The original Lost Mines adventure, which I've run twice now, the main villain, is this drow wizard. His whole purpose and goal, why he's fucking with Phandalin and killing people, is because he just doesn't want people to know that mine is there. That's literally his entire motivation. He is a nothing villain.
It's mine.
It's not even that. It's not even that he wants it for himself. He just doesn't want other people to have it.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think maybe this is all because Pathfinder is too nice of a company that they don't understand how to write evil.
Oh, Paizo, yeah. Well, I think it's also the thing.
They're actually like a decent company, and I'm like, man, their villains are like, they don't seem to realize that evil people exist.
I think they can do evil people really well. It's just a lot of the villains are either comic book level evil or just not really in the adventure.
Yeah, I think it's the thing that, like, it's an unfortunate part of the, like, something that, like, why I feel like the compilation books fixes a little bit of this because having the Curse of the Crimson Throne adventure path, that's all 6 of these books, I'm granted kind of ways to look at information earlier on than, let's say, like, the other one, where they're almost like 6 separate adventures that are sort of combined together a little bit. I think that's kind of the issue, is that they're almost written in a way that you could do them on their own, which I think is a disadvantage to it, too. It's one of the reasons, if you would split, like, which I don't know how you would, because there's not enough space for it, but let's say, like, you know, you split Curse of Strahd apart into 6 parts. How would you balance those out very easily? I don't know if you could. And I think that's kind of where it comes in for that a little bit, is figuring out where that fits all together. And yeah, I think that's just a disadvantage of some of the adventure paths there. So I think it's my suggestion, if you're going to run one of the 6 adventure or even 3 adventure paths, just read through like the basics of all of them to get an idea of where things are, so that maybe you can do some things with villains. But yes, going back to actually working on a villain.
Yeah, as far as advice goes, let's...
Yeah, now we've kind of established what not to do.
Yeah. Although that is very important, to establish what not to do.
True. I think the idea is, when you have an actual villain character to your storyline, whether or not it's the overall villain or an arc villain, they should be reflected in whatever portion of the story they're in. You know, the influence of Strahd is heavy throughout Curse of Strahd, and he literally can just show up whenever he wants and dick around with people, and he does that. It makes him, like, a much better villain in a lot of ways. As we're saying, like, having Orin Vrood show up here and there and kind of stuff, or have influence throughout his portion of the story. He might not be the end-all villain, but then defeating him and, like, finding a note that gives a name of who his boss is, you know, or, like, seeing, like, a set of messages that he's been, oh, this guy who's been dicking with us and been causing me these troubles, he's been taking orders from this person. And then you can do that. You can replace a villain like that. So the idea of replacing a villain carrying a crown is not necessarily a bad idea. I think, like, Skulls and Shackles, it's not right because they fucking replaced him in, like, the last hour, pretty much.
Yeah,
you know,
he's gone immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. I often like something from How to Be a Great GM. You guys know that channel?
I unfortunately.
I do not.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, I think he has some good stuff. I also think he has some meh stuff. But one of the things I always like, and I actually think about every time I GM, is this concept of, like, okay, someone's like, antagonist and protagonist both, but it's this idea of, like, they should want something badly, but they should all, like, I mean, okay, so he always says this thing, like, someone wants something badly but is having trouble getting it. That's the core of, like, any personality. So, like, but when also, like, going with villains, it's like they also need to have a plan, I think is another way about it. So they should have steps to achieve a goal.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the other things, too, is if your characters become against this antagonist, your actions should be reflected on the way that the plan works. So it's sort of like, you have to come up with, at very least, or understand, like, a basic idea of what the villain's overall plan is. And when things either mess up or things, you have to have an idea of how things, like, pivot, if that's enough of a thing to cause, like, a huge mess up, or, you know, that kind of thing. And it is a bit of, like, understanding story structure to a degree, too, I think, which is important, because
yes,
you're telling the story through your villain a lot here, that is going to be a focus of your players, you know. And again, they don't always have to know the name, they don't always have to know who this villain is, but feeling that influence of it, of like, oh, it's like, oh, like maybe like a calling card or something's going on, and you learn about, like, some connection to this group and their leader who you don't know about, you know. It could be shadowy, it could be like, you know, doesn't have to have the exact name, but just hinting at that there's something going on that you're getting involved in is good for plot.
Yeah. Yeah, there's also a very important part about that I think about. So like, if the players so a very important thing when planning, this is more of a planning an overarching plot concept than it is about villains, but it is also very important to have backup plans. So like, the villain will have a backup plan.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes them a good villain. If they don't have a backup plan and the players can stop them completely in their tracks, then they're a bad villain.
Yeah. I think it's also that, like, you have to have it in such a way that... And I think this is something that I just was thinking about now. And this is something that comes down to mechanics. Your villain doesn't have to be a super villain. You know? And I think that's an important part about it, too. You know, your villain can just be a dude, but if he has influence or control over people and is doing bad things, it might not be like, you know, it might be hard to track him down, find evidence, you know, confront him with this stuff, depending on the world you're in, you know, and that might be part of it, you know.
Maybe paying off the cops, you know?
Yeah, like, he can just be like, I could have, like, a first-level expert in a Pathfinder 1E game, and honestly, I could probably establish them as a incredible villain for you that you'd have to deal with, especially in a game which would be more of a lawful game. You know, it could deal with, like, aftermaths of his plans and stuff like that, that he has money and influence to, you know, pay off monsters, or, you know, set off old artifacts or things like that. Do things that... There are very bad things that can be combat challenges related to it. Though, again, like, you could know that this guy's up to it. You just don't have enough evidence to, like, confront him and take him down, you know, that kind of thing. As his plots are just being kind of laid out. And that would be a pretty cool game, and it's just like, it's just some dude that, you know, isn't really powerful on his own. He just has all that money and influence. Granted, Pathfinder's a system that you get a lot of levels in, so maybe, like, 5th level dude.
And again, another more of just a GM point. Do not have them show up alone or with a small group, alone or with a small group of like bodyguards in an isolated area, because the players will attempt to kill them and they might succeed.
Yes.
You need to make them either show up. They either need to be powerful enough to succeed, which can happen if you're playing something like D&D, although it's actually a lot harder in something like World of Darkness, where even, like, low-level players have capabilities.
Yeah.
But in, like, D&D, a 20th level, like, wizard versus a group of level 1 fighters, yeah, maybe you can have them show up alone. But, because you could just cast, like, level 6 sleep and then walk away, you know?
Yeah.
But
I think it comes down to my example, too, with that one there. If he's just a dude, you know, why threaten his life on some people that, you know, just stab you if they really needed to?
Yeah. You know, so if you're going to have them show up, make sure it's in a public place and the party is, like, willing to... And the party will not be willing to, like, fight the authorities the moment they stab him in the middle of a public ballroom.
Well, yeah, it's just, you set up a circumstance where they can't go against him at that point in time, which is possible, you know.
And if they do, then you have a completely different adventure where they run away from the cops and then are themselves the bad guys.
This is technically a video, but one of my favorite villains in anything is in Fallout 2, Dick Richardson. He is the president of the Enclave. He's just a guy.
Mm-hmm.
He dies in one shot.
Yeah.
He's the main antagonist. He's mentioned a lot. He dies in one shot. His bodyguard's the actual fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's the thing that, like, you know, yes, there are plenty of worlds. Like, you have your games where you have your big antagonists. You'd have your, like, powerful 20, like, you know, liches and stuff like that, which are your villains and stuff, you know. They do exist. but I think it's the thing I want to kind of separate out is the villain itself is not the challenge necessarily. It can be the battle, it cannot be the battle. It's the story that you're presenting with them and the way that you're presenting them as someone for either your characters to hate or for your characters to basically, like, want to stop whatever they're doing. Whatever emotion that is. Hatred's an easy one, but it could just be like, stop the villain from doing this thing.
Also, remember, dead powerful people create a power vacuum that is usually filled by someone else who's worse.
Yeah, it definitely does happen. It is a story trope, but it is one that can be used, like, if you have,
It's a story trope that's actually based on reality. Like, you kill one evil dictator and a more evil dictator takes over. That happens all the time in real life.
It's unfortunate, it's hard to fix those things with just, a simple gunshot.
Yeah.
And in this case, that might be an opportunity to make a change, like that, okay, maybe we stop this organization, but remnants of it and, like, this new guy in charge of it's doing this thing, and they might be doing something more dangerous and deadly because you defeated their boss, so now it's sort of like, we have to deal with them like, oh, they were just trying to, like, do this thing, and now they're like, oh, hey, you know what? We have this artifact that we were going to use for this thing, but we can totally use it to summon this, like, demon lord. We're going to go do that now because we're desperate.
Yeah, I just think it's important to remember that, like, the characters are important, but also, the plot is also not always tied directly to the character,
Yeah.
Those can also be kind of, so it's important to, like, write your villains with a point, but also remember that you can separate out the villain from the plot. The plot doesn't necessarily end if the villain dies, and vice versa.
And I think it comes down to, again, like, you can have multiple villain characters throughout a story that can either be cohesive or, different sections of it. It's sort of like, almost like a story where, like, you're doing a couple of different things that are related together, but each of these places you go to has a different kind of villain character that you're dealing with in different ways as you explore it. Like, I'm in this city, I have to deal with this villain here, and then I complete my mission here, which helps me go to the next place, which has got another villain, You can do multiple villains, too. You don't have to just have one big bad. You can have one big bad. There's so many options for that, let's use some Lord of the Rings. You can have your Saurons and then your Saurons, or did I do that right?
Sauron, Saruman. Then you have, like, the advisor who, like,
is corrupting things, and causing worm tongue. Yeah, got your, like, worm tongues and stuff. So you got your like, that's a villain in plain sight that has an entire. You could have, like, that they dealt, like, they dealt with that. But the thing is, you could have an adventure that's like that. That's like the evil advisor that's corrupting a king or something and causing a lot of problems. So maybe you think the king is the villain, but you're like, oh my god, no, it was his advisor all along. Dun dun dun.
Yeah, and, like, another thing with, like, Sauron and Saruman. Sauron is, like, Saruman, if I'm not mistaken, is actually trying to, like, do his own thing. Like, he's helping out the other guy because he thinks he's powerful enough to do what he wants.
Yeah, I think it's the former White Wizard wanted more power and kind of turned to the Dark Lord, and the Dark Lord's just like, I'm using you to get more of my job done that I want to do and get this ring back and shit, so it's like, and then it's like two different villains taking care of it two different times, Yeah. And the thing is, they also, that's another thing, they coexist, which you can also do with villains too. You can have multiple different villains, or like, and they could be part of the same group, they could be different groups. I think that's another thing too with this here.
Oh yeah, the warring factions is also a thing where it's all like, neither of them are great, but actually this is a campaign I want to run where it's all like chaos is about to break out, but you basically have to pick the lesser of whatever you guys find to be the lesser of the evils, because no faction is perfect, but the act of not getting involved is worse.
Yeah.
The Fallout New Vegas story.
Yeah. That's a Fallout New Vegas.
That is a Fallout New Vegas story, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. which I do definitely.
Which you definitely have finished, Tantus. Yeah,
I totally didn't finish. I didn't choose a faction. It was less that I couldn't choose a faction, and more I wanted to do all 4, and I was like,
hey,
I
that's
kind of want to do all 4.
illegal.
And then I'm like, fuck! But then I have to actually do all 4. Crap.
No, hey, you're doing Fallout. You know, you're doing Fallout 4. That has like 5 factions in it that definitely all have different endings.
I'm totally only going to finish the Minuteman one because it doesn't seem to evolve with the other ones very much.
That 4 Minuteman faction that was destroyed down to, well, this is the basic ending.
Yeah. It's this. I got this like one dude I rescued who was like, we should rebuild it. You're really cool. You can lead us. And I'm like,
I gotta talk with Preston Garvey.
Shut up, Preston. I do actually yell that at him a lot because like
he does.
Because it's sort of like I go back and I'm like dumping stuff off at my my loot, and he's like, "Are you sure you should be carrying all that?" And I'm like, "Shut up, Preston. I have my loot. I'm dropping it off here. One day I'll sell a lot of my loot."
You won't, because it's a Bethesda game. You need that loot to build stuff.
I'm gonna have like 400 pipe pistols.
Yeah, you're never gonna sell any of that.
I know, I don't need that. But I just.
But yeah, no, I've always wanted to run a faction game. I think that'd be really fun.
Oh, yeah,
players basically have to decide.
And that can be down to a different thing, like where if you have 2 basically factions, which are 2 different villainous factions, but it's in an area where they are the only factions to control it, and the situation without them is worse.
The best is actually 3 to 5.
Yeah.
Because then you actually have enough to where it's all like... Because if you're choosing between them, the players can really easily assign good and evil.
Yeah.
So you need at least 3. But you also don't want too many, because if you get more than 5, then players get very overwhelmed and start to decide that they can make their own faction.
Yeah. So, I think is I think we were trying to say here is that villains are again, and even that, I think this is the thing to say is, you don't actually always need a villain in your story, particularly. You could have the representation of the villain be an evil organization, and, just whoever's in charge of it, you might not even find out about them until you're, like, in the final confrontation. And honestly, then they are kind of a villain or not. Or it just could be, like, a group of people that are really terrible. They're all kind of villains. Or, there's other stories where you don't even deal with kind of villainous characters. There's just like, oh, let's go check out this thing, I guess monsters can be villains in a way, too, like the dragon, which is...
Any threat is a villain.
That's just true, too.
I mean, you could even, if you really wanted to... I mean, though, at that point, you're getting less into villain and more antagonist, which is a little different.
Yeah.
Well, no, antagonist is supposed to be a person, isn't it? What is the other thing called, where it's a threat, but it's, like, not...
I know what you're talking about, but I do not remember the word. Because I'm good that way. And I totally know story beats very often.
Chan, I'm going to be real with you. If you want the best villain, I'm going to give it to you right now. Just a dude named Steve. Just put him in a house somewhere. Have the party get introduced to him. He's going to be the only dude with a normal last name. They're going to be sus of him.
You're right. Just the one guy named Steve.
Just this human dude in this fox person city named Steve.
I am surprised no one suspected me as being evil, just being a guy named Steve.
You're just a dude who was named James.
I was just James.
Give your villains the most boring name possible so they don't suspect them.
I mean, I've also done the entire thing of, like, doing a plot that I wasn't necessarily planning a villain for, but then, like, you innocuously introduce someone and give them, like, a name, like, just James, and they're, like, suspecting them, and you're like, well, now he's the villain, congratulations. You don't tell them that, but you just decide it. You're like, well, now you just made villain, thank you.
Exactly.
You bothered this poor man who was nothing whatsoever long enough, and now he's just gonna, like, plot to murder you and, like, destroy the city or something. You drove him insane. Congratulations. That is also another story thing. You can make your players make their own villains. Sometimes they do.
And then a game where people made a lot of villains.
So I've certainly been in some games where I've been in one of those too. I just thought about it though. A game where like it technically was never our fault 100%, but we really
it was always your fault.
We got into shenanigans wherever we went to, and it usually just resulted in mass amounts of destruction and possible death. I mean, like, I was in a game where we ended up doing that, and we probably created a lot of villains by that, by just, accident. Exactly. Sometimes you don't mean to do it, and just get situations. We created our own worst villains.
This is going to be a little thing. Fun villains are actually people created by the consequences of a party.
Yeah. The thing is, you can start out with a plot line that's kind of going, and if the players do something that creates a villain in their own story arc, that character can easily become then, similar to how, like, Worm, you were saying earlier, how the villain doesn't have to be connected to the plot. You can have the villain enter into the plot and be like, now I will get into this thing in order to go against you and to get revenge.
Yeah, I guess it's still called an antagonist, even if it's like a setting. Like it's just the antagonist is nature, or the antagonist is
Yeah,
like
I think that is correct.
Yeah,
it is the thing you are going against in whatever form it is.
Yeah, but yeah, so your antagonist doesn't have to be a villain.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a pretty good kind of thing about talking about doing villains right. Less on the mechanical side, because I think we've kind of chatted about that before, and more on the story side.
And in theory, the villain doesn't even have to be the antagonist.
Yeah.
There actually are ways to do that, where it's all like, here's a good example, where it's all like, something bad is going to happen, and someone comes along to try and fix it, but then, but they're seen as the bad guy until you realize, oh, they're actually trying to do a good thing, although you may even have a better idea. There's, a way to handle that. I think it'd be interesting.
Yeah. Definitely some cool stuff. Yeah. Why don't we... I guess we've talked about everything. We can leave it there, then. We hit up on what we did our week. We hit up on all this stuff. I made my comments about, we'll see how the convention goes. I have enough friends that are going, that I at least know about the convention, to make PAX Unplugged fun. I just have to, arrange to hang out with a bunch of them and stuff at different points. So, yep. Alright, thank you for joining me, you two. Thank you, Worm. Thank you, Momo. Momo, you have anything to shout out? I know.
I do not. You can watch me on Wednesdays doing things.
And Worm, you got your normal shout out, I assume?
Yep, twitch.tv/Diamondwyrm, at Diamondwyrm on Twitter. And I'll be on my channel tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. PST.
Cool. I'll just keep everybody informed of my... Okay.
I was just about to say, probably won't be as long, though, because I'm still recovering.
Yeah. My schedule for next week, I'll be around on Monday. I'm doing a Dragon Warrior 4 randomizer. The randomizer roll, wheel of randomizers decided that. And, yeah, I'm trying that up. I'll do Fallout 4 Wednesday. We'll do Tabletop on Tuesday and Thursday. And then Friday, I'm definitely just going to be off. And then I am unsure about the exact Saturday or Sunday or anything like that. So that's where I'm at with my schedule. So, and we'll have Wednesday next week. So Crimson Queen, you want to check that out? It's fun. It's great. We're going to have it next Wednesday, definitely. And that's the big one I can shout out. And I'll see about next week's Discussing Tabletop. If not, well, I'll be definitely back the week after that, where we'll have our chance to talk about things like especially the what the hell happens at happened or will happen at PAX Unplugged.
Very true.
I'll have to give a full report about the things I saw and stuff like that. Decide what I'm doing with it. I'll take some notes and pictures and stuff, and I'll be able to talk about it. Maybe I can actually upload a slideshow and go through it on stream or something. You know, maybe point out stuff. I'll try to remember to do something like that, because that's creative and smart, and I just never do shit like that. Anyway, I'll see all of you on Monday, next week, etc. So until those times, I say bye, everybody. Farewell.
Bye.